Marcus Williams steps through the revolving glass doors of the Grand Meridian Hotel, his Nike sneakers silent against the marble floor. The polo shirt and jeans he wears cost more than most people's monthly salary, but nothing about his appearance screams wealth or power. At 6'2" with a calm stride, he moves through the opulent lobby like he belongs here because he does. He owns this place. The lobby buzzes with the quiet sophistication of old money. Crystal chandeliers casting warm light over leather seating, oil paintings worth millions adorning the walls, and guests who speak in hushed tones about private jets and estate planning. Marcus approaches the reception desk, his expression neutral, almost curious. Today isn't about business meetings or board presentations. Today is about truth. "Good afternoon," Marcus says to the young woman behind the mahogany counter, his voice carrying the educated cadence of Harvard Business School. "I have a reservation under Williams Hospitality Group for the presidential suite." The receptionist, Sarah Mitchell, according to her gold nameplate, looks up from her computer screen. Her smile falters for just a moment, a micro-expression that Marcus catches but doesn't react to. She studies his face, then his clothes, her eyes lingering on details that shouldn't matter but somehow do. "I'll need to check that for you," Sarah says, her tone shifting from professional warmth to polite distance. Her fingers dance across the keyboard with deliberate slowness, each keystroke echoing in the space between them. Marcus nods patiently, his hands resting casually on the counter. Behind him, a well-dressed elderly couple checks in seamlessly, their transaction completed with handshakes and genuine smiles. The contrast isn't lost on him. "You won't believe what happens in the next 20 minutes. Sarah's eyebrows furrow as she stares at her screen. "I'm not seeing any reservation under that name," she announces, though the confirmation email on Marcus's phone suggests otherwise. Her voice carries a certainty that feels rehearsed, practiced. "That's odd," Marcus replies, maintaining his composure. He retrieves his iPhone, scrolling to find the booking confirmation. "I received this yesterday." He turns the screen towards Sarah, showing the detailed reservation information, the premium rate clearly displayed, the Williams Hospitality Group corporate account listed as the payment method. Sarah glances at the phone briefly, as if the evidence before her eyes might be contaminated by prolonged exposure. "Anyone can forge these emails nowadays," she says with a dismissive shrug. "We have to be very careful about fraud." The word fraud hangs in the air like an accusation. Marcus feels the familiar tightness in his chest, the same sensation he's experienced countless times throughout his 42 years whenever his presence is questioned, his integrity doubted, his very existence treated as suspicious. "I understand your caution," Marcus says evenly. "Perhaps you could call your manager?" Before Sarah can respond, Robert Harrison emerges from the back office, tall, silver-haired, and wearing a suit that costs more than most cars. He carries himself with the authority of someone who's never had his right to be anywhere questioned. His eyes sweep over Marcus with the efficiency of a security scanner, cataloging and categorizing. "Is there a problem here?" Robert asks, directing the question to Sarah rather than Marcus, as if Marcus is an object to be discussed rather than a person to be addressed. "This gentleman claims to have a reservation for the presidential suite," Sarah explains, emphasizing claims with subtle disdain. "But our system doesn't show anything, and the documentation appears questionable." Robert nods knowingly, his expression settling into practiced concern. "The presidential suite is our most exclusive accommodation," he tells Marcus, his tone suggesting that Marcus might not understand the implications of such luxury. "It's typically reserved for heads of state, Fortune 500 CEOs, celebrities. Are you certain you booked the correct hotel?" The question lands like a slap disguised as helpfulness. Marcus recognizes the technique, the polite way of saying, "You don't belong here," without using those exact words. He's seen it before, in boardrooms where he was the only black face, at country clubs where his membership was under review, at restaurants where tables were suddenly unavailable despite obvious vacancies. "I'm quite certain," Marcus responds, his voice steady as granite. "I've stayed in this suite before." Robert's smile becomes strained, the kind of expression that says, "Let's humor the delusional person until security arrives." I see. And may I ask what line of work you're in? The question violates every principle of professional hospitality. Marcus has watched dozens of white guests check in without being subjected to career interrogations. The elderly couple behind him wasn't asked to justify their existence or prove their worthiness for luxury accommodation. Business consulting, Marcus answers truthfully. Though the description barely scratches the surface of his empire, the hospitality conglomerate he built from nothing, the hotels spanning 3 continents, the charitable foundations transforming communities. Robert exchanges a meaningful glance with Sarah. I see. Well, business consulting can be quite unpredictable in terms of income. The presidential suite runs $15,000 per night, plus taxes and fees, of course. $15,000. Marcus remembers setting that rate himself during a board meeting last quarter, positioning the Grand Meridian as an ultra-luxury destination. Now that same price is being wielded against him like a weapon, designed to embarrass and exclude. The lobby's ambient noise seems to fade as other guests begin to notice the lengthy conversation at the reception desk. Marcus feels their eyes, some curious, others judgmental. A middle-aged woman in Chanel whispers something to her companion, both of them stealing glances in his direction. Marcus reaches into his wallet, retrieving a titanium American Express Centurion card, the famous black card issued only to clients who spend over $1 million annually. He places it on the counter with the soft click of metal against marble. Sarah stares at the card as if it might bite her. "We'll need to verify this," she says, though Marcus has watched her process similar cards without question for other guests. "Of course," Marcus agrees, watching as Sarah picks up the card with obvious reluctance. She slides it through the reader, her expression suggesting she expects it to be declined. Fraud alerts to sound, alarms to ring. The transaction processes smoothly. Approved. Available credit. Unlimited. Sarah's face tightens with something that might be disappointment. She hands the card back to Marcus with visible reluctance. "The system is showing technical difficulties with room assignments today," she announces, though no such difficulties affected the guests before him. Robert steps closer, lowering his voice in a conspiratorial whisper that's still audible to nearby guests. "Between you and me, we've had some issues lately with people using borrowed or stolen credit cards. Identity theft is rampant these days. I hope you understand our position. The accusation is clear despite the careful wording. Marcus, a black man seeking luxury accommodations, must be a criminal. There's no other explanation for his presence here that their worldview can accommodate. I appreciate your vigilance," Marcus responds, his tone revealing nothing of the storm building inside him. "Perhaps you could check with your general manager?" "Unfortunately, Mr. Ashford is in meetings all afternoon," Robert replies immediately, though Marcus knows for a fact that General Manager Thomas Ashford is currently on vacation in Switzerland, a trip approved by Marcus himself 3 weeks ago. The lies are multiplying, each one more insulting than the last. Marcus pulls out his phone, ostensibly to check messages, but actually to document the time, the participants, the violations of corporate policy unfolding before him. As CEO of Williams Hospitality Group, he's about to witness the systematic discrimination he's spent years trying to eliminate from his company culture. A young couple approaches the adjacent counter, their designer luggage and relaxed demeanor suggesting wealth and privilege. Sarah immediately springs into action, her demeanor transforming from suspicious guard dog to welcoming hostess. "Good afternoon. Welcome to the Grand Meridian. How may I assist you today?" The contrast is jarring. Marcus watches as their check-in proceeds flawlessly, no documentation challenges, no financial interrogations, no suspicious glances, just professional service and genuine smiles. Robert notices Marcus's observation. "Every guest situation is unique," he explains, though the explanation explains nothing. "We tailor our service to individual circumstances." Individual circumstances. Code words for racial profiling, for the assumption that Marcus's circumstances are inherently suspicious, while others are inherently legitimate. Marcus nods slowly, processing not just the words but the system they represent. This isn't isolated prejudice, it's institutional discrimination wearing the mask of professional protocol, and it's happening in his own hotel, under his own corporate policies, by employees who wear his company's uniform. The revelation cuts deeper than personal insult. This is organizational failure at the highest level. Robert's patience appears to be wearing thin, his professional mask slipping to reveal something uglier underneath. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside," he announces, his voice carrying across the lobby. "We have other guests to serve, and this situation is creating a disruption." The word situation transforms Marcus from a potential guest into a problem to be managed. Heads turn throughout the lobby, conversations pause, smartphones emerge from purses and pockets. Marcus finds himself at the center of a growing spectacle, his dignity under assault in the most public way possible. "I'm simply trying to check into my reserved room," Marcus states calmly, though his hands clench slightly at his sides. "I've provided valid identification and payment method. What additional requirements do you have?" Robert's smile becomes predatory. "As I mentioned, we cater to a very specific clientele. Our guests expect a certain atmosphere. I'm sure you can find accommodations more suited to your background." At establishments down the street, the euphemisms are paper-thin disguises for racial animus. Specific clientele means white clientele. Certain atmosphere means an atmosphere free of people who look like Marcus. More suited to your background means know your place. Sarah joins the assault with fresh ammunition. "Our policy requires additional verification for guests whose profiles don't match our typical demographics," she announces, her voice carrying false authority. "It's for everyone's security and comfort. The policy is fiction, invented in real time to justify discrimination." Marcus has memorized every actual policy in the Williams Hospitality Group handbook policies he helped write. Policies designed to ensure equal treatment regardless of race, religion, or socioeconomic status. A crowd begins to gather, some guests showing concern, others displaying the morbid curiosity of spectators at an accident scene. Marcus feels the weight of their attention, the pressure of being forced to prove his humanity in front of strangers. "What specific verification do you require?" Marcus asks, his voice steady despite the humiliation burning in his chest. Robert confers briefly with Sarah, their whispered conversation clearly visible to everyone watching. When he turns back to Marcus, his expression has hardened into something approaching hostility. "We'll need employment verification, 3 forms of identification, a credit report from the last 90 days, and a character reference from an existing guest," Robert announces, his requirements so absurd that several onlookers gasp audibly. The demands are designed to be impossible, to force Marcus to surrender and leave in defeat. No legitimate business would impose such requirements on any guest, let alone a guest with confirmed reservations and valid payment. Marcus removes his wallet again, laying out his driver's license, passport, and corporate identification card on the marble counter. Each document bears his name, his photograph, his credentials. "I have identification," he says simply. Robert barely glances at the documents. "These could be forged," he dismisses. "We need official verification." A woman in the crowd speaks up, her voice sharp with indignation. "This is ridiculous. I've never seen anyone treated like this." Robert turns toward the voice, his expression suggesting that criticism from the audience is unwelcome. "Ma'am, we appreciate your concern, but we have protocols to protect all our guests." "Protect them from what?" the woman demands. "From a man trying to check into his room?" The question hangs in the air, exposing the emptiness of Robert's justifications. He's protecting guests from Marcus's presence, from his blackness, from the disruption of their segregated comfort. Marcus watches the exchange with careful attention, noting allies and adversaries, documenting behavior that violates not just corporate policy but basic human decency. His phone captures audio, video, evidence of discrimination that would be impossible to deny or explain away. "Sir," Robert addresses Marcus with barely concealed irritation, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. Your presence is creating a disturbance, and we cannot accommodate your requests." The moment has arrived, the point where Marcus must choose between retreat and revelation. He could leave quietly, avoid the scene, protect his dignity through strategic withdrawal, or he could stand his ground and expose the rot at the heart of his own organization. He chooses truth. Marcus pulls out his phone, scrolling to a contact marked Jennifer Martinez, COO. His fingers move across the screen with deliberate precision, typing a message that will change everything. Code Black incident at Grand Meridian. Full discrimination protocol. Need immediate board notification and legal support. Robert watches the phone activity with growing suspicion. Sir, I need you to leave immediately, or I'll be forced to call security. That won't be necessary, Marcus responds, his thumb hovering over the send button. I think there's been a misunderstanding that's about to be resolved. He presses send. Within 30 seconds, every company, phone, tablet, and computer terminal in the Grand Meridian receives an emergency notification. The distinctive chime of urgent corporate communications echoes throughout the lobby, behind the reception desk, in the back offices. Sarah's computer screen flashes red with an incoming priority message. Robert's confidence wavers as he notices the synchronized alerts, the sudden tension among staff members, the whispered conversations beginning in the administrative areas behind the scenes. Sarah reads her screen, her face draining of color like water from a broken glass. She looks at Robert, then at Marcus, then back at her screen as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less catastrophic. What does it say? Robert demands, though his voice lacks its earlier authority. Sarah's hands tremble as she turns the monitor toward him. The message is brief but earth-shattering. Urgent. CEO Marcus Williams conducting unannounced assessment at Grand Meridian. All staff exercise maximum professionalism. Board of Directors has been notified. The silence that follows could be measured in geological time. Robert stares at the screen, then at Marcus, his mouth opening and closing without producing sound. The implications crash over him like a tsunami of realization. Marcus Williams, CEO, owner of the Grand Meridian Hotel, owner of the entire Williams Hospitality Group. The man they've been humiliating, dismissing, and attempting to expel is their ultimate boss. That can't be right, Robert whispers, though his conviction crumbles with each word. Marcus's phone buzzes with an incoming call. Jennifer Martinez's name appears on the screen, and Marcus answers with calm professionalism. Jennifer. Marcus, what the hell is happening down there? Jennifer's voice carries clearly through the phone's speaker, audible to everyone in the immediate vicinity. I'm getting reports of discrimination incidents from the Grand Meridian. Are you safe? I'm fine, Marcus responds, his eyes never leaving Robert's face, just conducting some unexpected quality assurance. Do you need me to patch you through to legal? Should I alert the media team? Not yet. But please ensure the board is fully briefed. We may need to implement some significant policy changes. The conversation continues for another minute, each exchange confirming Marcus's identity and authority. Robert stands frozen, watching his career implode in real time. Sarah has begun crying quietly, understanding that her actions over the past hour have likely ended her employment and damaged her future prospects in the hospitality industry. When Marcus ends the call, the lobby has fallen completely silent. Guests who moments ago were annoyed by the disruption now watch with fascination and growing respect. The dynamic has shifted completely. Marcus is no longer a problem to be solved, but a force to be reckoned with. Mr. Williams, Robert begins, his voice barely above a whisper. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Marcus studies Robert's face, seeing fear where moments ago there was arrogance, desperation where there was confidence. Has there been, he asks quietly, or have I seen exactly what I came here to see? The question lands like a judge's gavel. Robert realizes that this wasn't a random occurrence, a case of mistaken identity, or an unfortunate coincidence. This was a test, and he failed it spectacularly. Sir, if I may explain, Robert starts. You may not, Marcus interrupts, his voice carrying new authority. You've explained quite enough already. Sarah attempts to speak, but Marcus raises a hand, stopping her words before they form. The gesture is gentle but absolute, carrying the weight of finality. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus addresses the gathered crowd, his voice projected to reach every corner of the lobby. Thank you for witnessing this interaction. What you've seen today represents everything wrong with institutional discrimination, the assumptions, the double standards, the systematic exclusion of people based on appearance rather than character. Some guests nod in agreement, others look uncomfortable at being forced to confront ugly truths about prejudice and privilege. Marcus continues, his words measured and deliberate. This hotel, like all properties in the Williams Hospitality Group, was built on principles of equality, respect, and dignity for every guest. What happened here today violates every value this company stands for. Robert's face has gone gray, the full magnitude of his situation becoming clear. He's not just losing his job, he's losing his career, his reputation, his future, in an industry where word travels fast and memories are long. Marcus turns to address him directly. Mr. Harrison, effective immediately, your employment with Williams Hospitality Group is terminated. Miss Mitchell, the same applies to you. You'll receive final paychecks but no severance, no references, and no future consideration for employment within our organization. The terminations ring out like gunshots in the marble lobby. Robert opens his mouth to protest, to negotiate, to beg, but no words come. Sarah covers her face with her hands, her quiet sobs the only sound in the vast space. Security will escort you from the premises, Marcus continues. Your personal effects will be packaged and mailed to your addresses on file. Your access cards, company devices, and any proprietary materials are to be surrendered immediately. As if summoned by Marcus's words, actual security personnel appear professional, respectful, nothing like the threatening presence Robert had implied earlier. They approach the terminated employees with courteous efficiency, ready to facilitate their departure without unnecessary drama. But Marcus isn't finished. He pulls out his phone again, this time placing a call that connects to the hotel's public address system. His voice echoes through every room, every floor, every corner of the Grand Meridian. Attention all staff and guests. This is Marcus Williams, CEO of Williams Hospitality Group. Today, I conducted an unscheduled assessment of our service standards and discovered systematic discrimination that violated both company policy and basic human dignity. Effective immediately, we're implementing comprehensive reforms to ensure this never happens again. The announcement continues, detailing new training programs, anonymous reporting systems, and diversity initiatives that will reshape the company culture. Marcus speaks with the authority of someone who's not just fixing a problem but transforming an entire organization. Meanwhile, social media explodes with real-time coverage of the events. Guests have been recording and live streaming, hashtags are trending, and the story is spreading across platforms faster than Marcus could have imagined. Number Grand Meridian Justice, number CEO Reveal, and number Hotel Discrimination climb the trending charts as the video goes viral. Robert and Sarah are escorted from the building, their departure captured by dozens of cameras and shared with millions of viewers. Their faces become symbols of institutional racism, their actions a cautionary tale about the consequences of prejudice. In the aftermath, Marcus stands before the remaining staff employees who watched their colleagues' downfall with a mixture of shock, relief, and concern about their own futures. His expression softens slightly, showing leadership rather than retribution. To the rest of the team, he says, "Today was about accountability, not punishment. If you've been professional, respectful, and committed to our values, you have nothing to fear. If you've participated in discrimination, you have everything to change." The lobby gradually returns to normal operations, but nothing is truly the same. Guests approach Marcus with thanks, apologies, and expressions of support. Some share their own experiences with discrimination. Others praise his handling of the situation. The woman who spoke up earlier introduces herself as Dr. Angela Chen, a civil rights attorney who offers to support any legal actions that might follow. Marcus accepts business cards, shakes hands, and listens to stories that remind him why this moment matters. He's not just a CEO managing a crisis, he's a symbol of progress, proof that people can rise above the limitations others try to impose on them. As the evening progresses, local news crews arrive, followed by national media outlets. The story has grown beyond a single incident to become a broader conversation about race, power, and justice in corporate America. Marcus agrees to interviews, using each platform to discuss systemic change rather than personal vindication. This isn't about revenge, he tells reporters. It's about responsibility. Every business leader has an obligation to ensure their organizations reflect the values they claim to espouse. Today we fell short of that standard, but tomorrow we'll do better. The interviews are shared widely, reinforcing Marcus's reputation as a thoughtful leader rather than simply a victim seeking retribution. His measured responses, his focus on systemic solutions rather than individual blame, and his commitment to ongoing reform resonate with audiences across the political spectrum. Stock analysts note an unusual pattern in after-hours trading. Williams Hospitality Group shares are rising despite the negative publicity. Investors interpret Marcus's handling of the crisis as evidence of strong leadership and ethical governance, qualities that enhance rather than diminish the company's value. Meanwhile, the employment consequences ripple outward. Robert Harrison finds his LinkedIn profile flooded with negative comments, his professional references questioning his character, and his future job prospects severely limited. The hospitality industry is smaller than most people realize, and word of his behavior spreads quickly through professional networks. Sarah Mitchell faces similar professional consequences, compounded by the viral nature of the incident. Videos of her dismissive treatment of Marcus have been viewed millions of times, making her face recognizable to HR departments across the country. Her career in customer service is effectively over, but Marcus isn't content with individual punishment. Over the following weeks, he implements comprehensive organizational changes that transform Williams Hospitality Group into an industry leader for diversity and inclusion. Unconscious bias training becomes mandatory for all employees. Promotion processes are revised to eliminate systemic barriers, and recruitment efforts are expanded to historically black colleges and universities. The company establishes partnerships with civil rights organizations, creates scholarship programs for underrepresented students in hospitality management, and develops mentorship programs that connect minority employees with senior leadership. Marcus doesn't just fix the problem, he builds systems to prevent its recurrence. 3 months later, Williams Hospitality Group receives recognition from the NAACP for corporate leadership and civil rights. 6 months later, the company is featured in Harvard Business Review as a case study in crisis management and organizational transformation. A year later, Marcus delivers the keynote address at the International Hotel and Restaurant Association's annual conference, sharing lessons learned from his experience at the Grand Meridian. Standing at the podium, looking out at an audience of industry leaders from around the world, Marcus reflects on the journey from humiliation to transformation. The story isn't really about one man's triumph over prejudice. It's about the power of principles to create systemic change. Leadership isn't about the authority to punish wrongdoing, he tells the conference attendees. It's about the responsibility to build systems that make wrongdoing impossible. When we create cultures of respect, we don't just serve our guests better, we serve our highest values. The speech receives a standing ovation, but Marcus knows that applause isn't the real measure of success. Success is measured in changed policies, in promoted employees who might previously have been overlooked, in guests who receive respectful service regardless of their appearance or background. Success is measured in the transformation of an industry that once excluded people like Marcus from its highest levels into an industry that now seeks to learn from his experience and leadership. The Grand Meridian Hotel, scene of Marcus's humiliation, becomes a symbol of corporate accountability and organizational transformation. Guests specifically request stays there, wanting to support a business that confronted its own failures and emerged stronger. Revenue increases, employee satisfaction improves, and the hotel becomes a model for other properties in the Williams Hospitality Group portfolio. but perhaps the most meaningful success is personal. Marcus's experience reminds him why he built his company in the first place, not just to accumulate wealth or achieve status, but to create opportunities and spaces where everyone's dignity is respected. The incident at the Grand Meridian strips away the comfortable distance of boardroom policies and corporate initiatives, forcing him to confront discrimination in its rawest, most personal form. He emerges from that confrontation not bitter or cynical, but more committed than ever to the work of building a more equitable world. His response to humiliation becomes a masterclass in transforming pain into purpose, individual injury into collective healing. The story spreads beyond the hospitality industry, inspiring leaders in other sectors to examine their own organizational cultures, to look beyond diversity statistics to the lived experiences of their employees and customers. Marcus's example demonstrates that authentic leadership requires the courage to acknowledge failures and the commitment to fundamental change. Years later, when business students study the case, they learn about more than crisis management or corporate governance. They learn about the power of character under pressure, the importance of systemic thinking, and the responsibility that comes with leadership. They learn that true success isn't measured by the heights you reach, but by how many people you lift up along the way. Marcus Williams walked into the Grand Meridian Hotel as a successful businessman conducting a routine assessment. He walked out as a symbol of justice, a catalyst for change, and proof that dignity, once lost, can be reclaimed not just for oneself, but for everyone who follows. The marble lobby, where he was humiliated, now bears a small plaque, visible to every guest who enters. Respect is not earned by appearance, but by character. Justice is not given by others, but claimed by courage. Change is not hoped for in the future, but created in the present. Beneath those words, a simple signature: M. Williams, CEO. The story ends where it began, but everything has changed. The same marble floors that witnessed discrimination now welcome guests of every background with genuine respect. The same reception desk where bias once flourished now operates under policies that prioritize dignity over prejudice. The same lobby where Marcus stood alone now serves as a gathering place for people committed to equality and justice. 5 years later, Marcus returns to the Grand Meridian for the hotel's annual diversity celebration. The lobby bustles with a different energy. Now staff members from dozens of countries work alongside each other, their name badges reflecting the global community Williams Hospitality Group has become. The reception desk is staffed by Maria Santos, a young Latina woman who earned her promotion through the company's new merit-based advancement program. "Welcome back, Mr. Williams," Maria says with genuine warmth, her smile reflecting the cultural transformation that has taken root throughout the organization. "Your usual suite is ready, and the evening speakers are excited to meet you." Marcus nods appreciatively, noting how naturally respect flows in this space that once felt hostile to his presence. The presidential suite he was denied 5 years ago now serves as headquarters for the Williams Foundation's annual scholarship program, hosting young people of color pursuing degrees in hospitality management. During the celebration dinner, Marcus shares the stage with Dr. Angela Chen, the civil rights attorney who witnessed his humiliation and became a key ally in the company's transformation. Together, they announced the establishment of the Grand Meridian Civil Rights Institute, a research center dedicated to studying and eliminating discrimination in the service industry. "Change isn't a destination," Marcus tells the gathered crowd of employees, community leaders, and scholarship recipients. "It's a commitment we renew every single day. Every interaction, every decision, every policy we implement either moves us toward justice or away from it. There's no neutral ground." In the audience, a young black woman named Keisha Thompson listens intently. She's one of 50 scholarship recipients who will graduate debt-free from Cornell's School of Hotel Administration, thanks to funding from the Williams Foundation. 5 years ago, she was working 3 jobs to support her family in Detroit, convinced that careers in luxury hospitality were reserved for others. Tonight, she'll sign an offer letter to join Williams Hospitality Group's management training program. The ripple effects extend far beyond corporate boardrooms and hotel lobbies. Marcus's story has been adapted into a documentary film that screens at universities across the country, sparking conversations about implicit bias and institutional change. Business schools use the Grand Meridian incident as a case study in crisis leadership, examining how authentic responses to discrimination can strengthen rather than damage organizational reputation. The Williams Institute for Hospitality Justice, established at Howard University with a $50 million endowment from Marcus, conducts research on discrimination patterns across service industries. Their findings have influenced legislation in 12 states, requiring bias training for employees in customer-facing roles and establishing whistleblower protections for those who report discriminatory practices. Robert Harrison and Sarah Mitchell, the employees whose termination launched this transformation, have taken different paths in the years since. Robert struggled initially, facing rejection after rejection as his reputation preceded him through industry network. Eventually, he enrolled in sensitivity training programs and began volunteering with civil rights organizations, working to understand the impact of his actions. 3 years later, he wrote a public letter of apology that went viral, acknowledging his role in perpetuating systemic discrimination. Sarah's journey proved more challenging. The viral videos of her dismissive treatment of Marcus made her unemployable in customer service roles for nearly 2 years. She eventually found work as an administrative assistant at a nonprofit organization focused on racial reconciliation, where she slowly rebuilt her understanding of privilege and prejudice. Her supervisor, a black woman named Patricia Williams, who shares Marcus's surname but no relation, became an unexpected mentor in Sarah's journey toward redemption. The legal consequences of the Grand Meridian incident extended beyond individual terminations. The Department of Justice launched an investigation into discrimination practices across the hospitality industry, using Marcus's documented experience as evidence of systemic problems. The resulting settlement required major hotel chains to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination training and establish independent oversight mechanisms. Marcus's influence reaches into unexpected corners of society. When similar incidents occur at other businesses, restaurants, retail stores, country clubs, viral videos inevitably draw comparisons to the Grand Meridian case. Remember what happened to the hotel CEO? Becomes shorthand for the potential consequences of public discrimination. The phrase enters popular culture, a warning that dignity denied might carry unexpected costs. The transformation proves financially beneficial as well as morally necessary. Williams Hospitality Group's reputation for inclusive excellence attracts corporate clients who want to align with socially responsible partners. Convention bookings increase by 40%, as organizations seek venues that reflect their values. The company's stock price reaches record highs, proving that ethical leadership and profitable business are not competing priorities but complementary strategies. International recognition follows domestic success. The United Nations invites Marcus to speak at a conference on business ethics and human rights, where he shares lessons learned from transforming corporate culture. His presentation draws standing ovations from delegates representing every continent, and several countries adapt his policy frameworks for their own hospitality regulations. Back home, the Grand Meridian Hotel becomes a destination for civil rights tourism. Visitors come not just for luxury accommodations, but to see the place where one man's dignity triumphed over institutional prejudice. Tour groups include the lobby in their itineraries, guides explaining how personal courage can catalyze systemic change. The anniversary of the incident becomes an annual moment of reflection and renewal for Williams Hospitality Group. Employees share stories of challenges overcome and barriers broken, creating a living narrative of progress. New hires learn the company's history not as ancient legend but as ongoing commitment, understanding that their actions either advance or undermine the values Marcus defended in that marble lobby. Marcus himself remains humble about his role in these changes, insisting that transformation required collective effort rather than individual heroism. "I was just the person who happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right resources," he tells interviewers. Real change comes from everyone who chose to do better after witnessing that moment. His words reflect a truth that extends beyond corporate policies and sensitivity training. The Grand Meridian incident succeeded not because Marcus possessed special courage, but because ordinary people, guests, employees, viewers recognized injustice and chose to support justice. Their responses, captured in videos and amplified through social media, created the pressure that made transformation inevitable. The lessons learned echo through generations. Marcus's children, now teenagers, understand their father not as a celebrity CEO, but as someone who chose principle over comfort when tested. They carry that understanding into their own choices, knowing that character is measured not by success achieved, but by values defended under pressure. Sometimes the most powerful victories aren't won through battle, but through the quiet revolution of living your values under pressure. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment, but about transformation. And sometimes the person you underestimate might just be the person with the power to change your world forever. Today, when young people of all backgrounds walk into the Grand Meridian Hotel, they see possibility where Marcus once encountered prejudice. They see opportunity where he faced obstruction. They see respect where he experienced humiliation. The marble lobby that witnessed his lowest moment now stands as testament to his highest values. Stand for what's right. The world is watching. And now, thanks to one man's courage and one moment of truth, the world is a little more just than it was before. The story continues in every choice to defend dignity, every decision to challenge discrimination, every moment when someone finds the strength to say, "This is wrong, and it ends now." The Grand Meridian Hotel still gleams with crystal chandeliers and marble floors, still hosts the wealthy and powerful, still represents the pinnacle of luxury hospitality. But now it represents something more. Proof that change is possible, justice is achievable, and dignity is non-negotiable. In the end, that may be Marcus Williams's greatest legacy, not the empire he built, but the world he helped build for others.